Hi there, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, welcome. I'm Jen Walker Wall of Work Wonders Careers and host of the podcast Careers at the End of the World. I'm here today to chat a little bit about the passive job search approach and how you can operationalize this strategy for your own job search, even if you are very actively looking for a job at this time. So while I'm waiting for folks to gather, if you're not familiar with our work, you can visit us online at workwonderscareers.com to learn more about our services and offerings. Right now, I'm hosting these monthly pep talks casually here on LinkedIn as a way to share some tips and insights into what's happening and what's working in the job market right now. It's a pretty competitive place. I probably don't have to tell you that. And if you are watching this, I would love it if you wouldn't mind sharing it. Feel free to tag me here on LinkedIn. You can also send this as a message to anyone who may be job searching in your network or thinking about job searching in your network. The replay will also be available. So if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. Hey, Laura, good to see you. I'm sorry you're here, Laura, but it's always nice to see your face. Like I said, I'm Jen Walker Wall. I am the host of the podcast Careers at the End of the World and founder of Work Wonder Careers. Now, in 2020, when COVID first started, I started hosting these regular pep talks here, just casual opportunities to share some tips and insights into what we're seeing in the job market, what's working at the moment, what's not working at the moment. And that's what I'm here to do today. So if you're watching this and wouldn't mind giving this a share, I would love for it to get out to as many folks as possible. If you're watching the replay, thank you for being here and catching this at all. If you're here and you want to say hello, please feel free to do so. Let me know where you're joining from today. And I'm going to dive right in just a minute. But I do want to say, if anything you hear today resonates with you, to please visit us online at workwonderscareers.com to learn more about what we offer. I have a newsletter, we have a podcast, those are both available for free. And we also have a new retreat night coming up later this month, How to Job Search at the End of the World, based on our webinar by the same name. And if you want any help optimizing or operationalizing anything that you hear today in terms of job search tactics and strategies, you are welcome to join us for that. I'd love to have you. And we just introduced a community pricing model so that there are some options there. And we'd love to encourage you to take whatever option you may need. So I see some folks here. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Yes, I'm happy to see you as well. So thank you, folks, for being here live. And I want to say not just thank you for being here and for your time, but thank you for your trust. The last couple of years have been difficult. We've had a difficult job market for quite some time now, I would say. But the last few weeks and even the last few days have felt particularly challenging, haven't they? I don't think I'm alone in noticing that. So I wanted to use this month's pep talk to talk a little bit to a wide spectrum of people who I would consider actively looking for jobs. Maybe you're between jobs, recently laid off, unhappy in your current job, ready for something new. Maybe those of you who weren't thinking about job searching, but now maybe have concerns about your job that you didn't a few weeks or a few months ago. And people who maybe just started a job but aren't feeling like totally confident about what's happening there. So I thought that this was a good topic that would work for a significant array of people here. When it comes to landing a new job, if you followed me for any amount of time, you know, there's like a few ways to do it, a few big picture ways to do it. But I have a favorite, okay? I do have a favorite way to think about your job search. And it's been something that I've recommended, but only so many clients can really feel like they can take advantage of it at any given time. So I've said over the years, the folks that come to me who are actually still happy in their jobs, not urgent to leave, often have like the shortest and least painful job searches. And on the other end of the spectrum, the people who wait until they're exhausted and burned out have a really long job search process. It tends to take a lot more work and energy to kind of turn things around, especially when you've hit that burnout phase. So that's why I really like this idea of the passive job search model, which is what I would describe sort of that first client experience like. When you start your process before the burnout, before the anger, before all of the heavy stuff kicks in, and you're just motivated and ready to go. It's like one less hurdle to have to get over here. Now, even if you are an active job seeker, you may be job searching and you didn't plan on it, you were wishing not to, you find yourself looking for a job and actively looking for your job, looking with some sense of urgency. What I want to suggest is something that I haven't always said this directly, but I think definitely makes sense given where the market is now, which is thinking like a passive job seeker is actually a pretty good plan for almost everyone I know actively looking in the market. And fundamentally, that's because there's not a ton of opportunities to choose from. And so if the last time you job searched was in 2021, 2022, and you saw new job postings every few hours and it was all you had to do was submit a resume, get a phone screen, and boom, you were hired, that's not the experience that you're likely to have in this moment in time. And if it is your experience, I love that for you. But really, we're seeing something that's really, really different. There's way fewer opportunities for people to apply for. I'll also just say that, like, anytime something big and generally bad happens, like, there's a slowdown. It feels like there's a bit of a bottleneck as people try to, or organizations really try to figure out what is hiring going to look like? How do we have the capacity to execute on this hiring? That's purely anecdotal, but I think a lot of clients who've been with me will notice that the jobs aren't sort of coming out evenly. They're coming out in fits and starts, and really big shocks to the system, like what we've experienced in the last few days, makes things dry for a bit. It's a bit of a dry spell. And of course, that's unnerving. I am unnerved by it. I know my clients have been unnerved by it. It's not really something most of us have witnessed a whole lot. In fact, just a few years ago, we were really seeing the opposite. So because there's a lack of volume, and because most of my clients are mid and senior professional people with years of experience, demonstrated areas of expertise, I think it's really important to just acknowledge that this job search is likely to not look like your last job search, or what your memory of the last job search might be here. And that instead of going for the volume of opportunities, what we're really looking to do is go deep on the alignment of opportunities. So, what I'm suggesting is that for the vast majority of you, a more passive job search strategy might actually help direct your energy in ways that are advantageous to your search overall. So, what I mean by this is if you are an active job seeker, you really want a job, but you're not finding the breadth of opportunities that you're used to, you're going deep instead of wide. And I know everyone has heard and seen horror stories of people applying to like hundreds and hundreds of opportunities and not hearing back at all, or having like a handful of phone screens. I think for the vast majority of people, actually, probably everyone that I work with, we can turn that volume way down. And we're really looking for opportunities that make sense, where we are well qualified, we can make a strong case, and we're going to take the time to make a strong case. We are going to tailor our resumes, okay? And I know that maybe this is a controversial take, but I think the more responsive that you can be to the opportunities that are posted, the better off your resume is going to work for you. I would also suggest that you have a really robust application strategy if you're applying online, and really look and see, submit your materials. Of course, you want those to be submitted promptly, but also just take a look, like, do you have any connections to a recruiter there or a hiring manager there? I do think reaching out and letting them know your materials are in the queue, if you do have a first, second connection, can be really useful. Heck, even doing it cold has led to some conversations for some folks that I've worked with. And that's just a way of being robust. It's just a way of potentially standing out. It's actually not something I've recommended historically, but I think given the volume of applicants right now, it makes a difference to kind of just be as robust and thorough as possible. Because remember, we're going deep, we're not going wide. We're not leveraging volume, we're going big on fit and effort. So that's what I think is going to be most helpful there. There may also be opportunities here to do a significant amount of relationship building and reconnecting. And I know I'm hearing from a lot of folks, I did that already, or everyone I know is also looking for a job. And that's actually okay. Like, I still think it makes sense. Probably everyone in your network doesn't have the exact set of skills and experiences that you do. So putting yourself in some sort of community, in relationship with other people where you can share opportunities, where you can often say like, hey, this isn't a good fit for me, but this might be a good fit for you, is a way of just having other eyes, other people in on your job search, which I would say is like a very, very good thing to be doing right now. Okay. The other The other piece of this that I would suggest to people is, the job search is lasting longer. And not just because there's fewer jobs, although that doesn't help. I mean, I've also just seen interviews take up an enormous amount of time, go on much longer than they were, many more rounds than they were just a few years ago. And so it's not unusual for a hiring process to be 3 or 4 months long. And that assumes that you're in a hiring process to begin with. So I used to say, like, you're always at least 6 to 8 weeks away from a job offer, but it assumes that you're in some kind of hiring process. And I would add probably another 4 weeks to that, at least right now, because I'm just seeing lots of stops and starts, pauses, rounds of interviews, like all kinds of things kind of just slowing the process down here. So I want you to at least think about a longer runway here. And if there's not tons of applications every week for you, how else can you gain visibility? Obviously, there's the relationship building piece, but there may be opportunities for contract, project, part-time work that can do all kinds of things for you. Okay, so partly it can help you stay connected to your field. It may be able to help you maintain skills, maintain some structure for your life, which I actually think is really important and very helpful to people. And so what I'm suggesting here is that while you may be someone with some time on your hands, thinking that you should be applying for jobs 40 hours a week, I think is a bit of a stretch for people. You could probably do it, but I don't think most people in the mid-career, senior career space are going to find 40 hours of jobs a week to actually apply for. So we want to think, how else can we structure our time? What other activities can we engage in here? And this is why, again, the passive job search model really comes in handy for me, because anything we can do to kind of go deep, build those connections, reestablish connections. So getting back in touch with people that you haven't spoken to in a while, asking for introductions to new people, and really staying top of mind, to really stay engaged. I think there's this sense when people are struggling in the job search to be invisible, to hide, to shrink, to be isolated. Oh, me too, Laura. Absolutely. I don't want that for anyone, quite honestly. So I really want you to think about, like, how can I use this time to best take care of myself? And I've had lots of clients who do some part-time work that, like, covers a few bills or covers rent, but it gives them some structure to their life. It gets them, like, out of the house, or at least talking to other people. And I think those sorts of things are really important right now. One of the things I say to clients who are between jobs and struggling is, did you leave the house today? Did you get up in the morning and go to bed at night? Like, just the structure piece, I think, is really hard for folks to maintain. And so if we just assume that this process is going to last a while, what do you need in the meantime to be successful? What do you need to be productive? And oftentimes when people are panicking about not having income or unemployment running out, it makes it really difficult to be productive. And it's a real terrible situation that we don't have leadership here who's working for us right now. In many ways, it feels like we have the opposite. And so I really think it's important that we take care of ourselves and we take care of each other. As you are thinking about your own job search, I want you to think about quality over quantity. I want you to know that even if you're seeing very few opportunities, that is not inconsistent with what I've seen really over the last couple of years. It was really sort of limited to a few sectors in the last couple of years, and now it feels a little bit more widespread. It's hard to sort of, if anyone can name an industry not impacted by, like, what's gone on in the last 8 weeks, let me know. I'd love to hear it. But it feels like it's really everywhere right now. So we want to go deep instead of wide. We don't want to focus on volume. If you're applying to a couple of jobs a week and that you're well qualified for them, they're hybrid or in person, I don't think a couple of jobs in a remote only job search is going to be sufficient. I think you're going to need way more volume there. But I am seeing people interview and progress through hiring processes for hybrid and in-person jobs. And if you're really looking to get back into the office sooner rather than later, or get back to work sooner than later, I should probably say, I really want to encourage you to think about going on site. That's I think I think it's a much less competitive job search. I think remote job search, if I had to guess what that applicant pool looks like, I bet it's chaotic. Hey, Vanessa. Yes, well, people, when things aren't going well, will hide. And it's actually, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, please be visible, please check in, please ask for help, please help other people. You'll have insight and connections that can help other people. So even if you don't have a job or you don't like your job, you are bringing wisdom and resources and relationships to contribute, and your community will want to hear from you. So I just think this is really, really important here. I want you to think more about yourself as a puzzle piece. How can you look for opportunities where your edges and shape are an asset rather than something you have to obscure? I've called this like a very unimaginative market. And so the places where people seem to be getting traction the fastest and the easiest tend to be jobs that they're just really, really well qualified for. And I think it makes it that much easier to tailor your resume and demonstrate your qualifications as quickly as possible, or as succinctly as possible in your resume, so that people can see them and identify you. If you're listening to this and you are a volume-based, application submitter, I want to know if that's been successful for you. You don't have to comment, but you can just think, like, if you're applying to dozens of jobs every week, is that working for you? Are you getting callbacks? Are you getting callbacks for jobs that you want? Are you moving through the process? I see people having way more success turning the volume down, focusing on alignment and quality over quantity, and taking the time to tailor their applications. Yes, I think you're right, Anna. I think you're right. But I have worked with people who've just been like, who have really significant gaps, have run out of unemployment and severance. And so when they're like, how do I just get a job as soon as possible? Those are the opportunities that I would look for. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that pay is keeping up with what it was doing a couple of years ago either. Maybe that's a separate pep talk. We can talk a little bit about negotiation at some point. And I'm not encouraging anyone to go on site or not. I just think that that's going to be probably an easier search to get traction in than something that's fully remote only. In fact, sometimes when I have people who are in a fully remote job search, we'll test their resume in hybrid opportunities just to see like what changes, what shifts, is it working over here? Because a lot of people will have really good resumes, but I think those remote jobs are very, very competitive and also just very messy. I'm not even sure you're competing against you are competing against other qualified applicants, but I think you're also, I actually had a client say, you're competing against everyone on the planet with an internet connection, which is pretty much, I think, the case. So you don't have to you may not be in a position where you have to make decisions about lowering your pay or, adding on expenses to get to work. But I also think that there will be people who are probably willing, ready, able, need to make those concessions. And so it's just a reminder that, like, I think that that's something that can be possible for folks. So where is there an opportunity here for you to be more like a passive job seeker, which I think sounds like less work, but is actually just working differently. So you have to be more strategic, more intentional, and probably take more time tailoring your assets, tailoring the communication, having a very specific narrative. And that is work. So it's not like it's not passive, like passive income. It's passive, like you have to do a lot of work, but you have to work differently than you probably have in other job searches in order to get the sort of results or some version of the results that you are used to getting previously. I would love to open this up to questions. If folks have anything they'd like me to answer, I have a few minutes left, and I'm happy to take any questions about your job search or the passive job search strategy. For those who are joining or watching the replay, if you want to learn more about my work, you can go to workwonderscareers.com. We do have a How to Job Search at the End of the World retreat night happening later this month, where we're working to help people operationalize some of the things we're talking about here, about communication and alignment, as well as just helping people optimize their job search overall. I've not seen one person have a high volume job search that was effective. And so focusing on getting the most applications out, I don't necessarily think is the move to make, certainly not for the vast majority of folks that I work with. So I want you to really think, where can I be more strategic and deliberate and intentional? rather than trying to apply for as many jobs as possible, or, worrying that there's no jobs posted in the last 48 hours. What can I do with my time instead? I would probably come up with a list of activities to do if those jobs aren't posted. And I would expect that there would be days where things won't be posted. I think the next few weeks are probably going to be pretty slim and lean for the vast majority of people, industries. I think a lot of folks are just trying to figure things out right now. So if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to try and address them. I do hope folks can not hide, can show up for themselves, show up for the folks around them. Let me see here. I am struggling to get responses when I reach out to recruiters and hiring managers on LinkedIn or through cold emails. Any suggestions? So there's two things I would check when a client says this to me. I would say, how long is your communication that you're using to reach out to them? How easy is it to say yes to you? What are you asking for? Are you asking for a job? Are you asking for an interview? If I were sending a message through LinkedIn, I would first submit my applications through the applicant tracking system, just go through the process so that they're in the queue. And then I would send a very short message to the recruiter or LinkedIn and say, dear hiring manager, I was excited to see this opportunity for X role. My experience includes ABC that's relevant for the job. I've gone ahead and submitted my application for the queue, but I'll attach them here for your reference. Love, Jen, not love. Warmly, Jen, sincerely, Jen. Right. And then I would hit submit. So I would actually not expect to hear back from them in my case, but I don't know the context of your request. So if you are just sending cold messages, but not applying, I would apply and let them know and send your materials. But it's also possible that they're just not allowed to reply. I used to have some limitations on how I could engage with someone who is in the applicant pool or already like in the hiring process outside of the structure of the hiring process itself. So it doesn't mean that they're not going to look at your materials. It doesn't mean that they're not engaging, but I would check those messages. What are they asking for? How long are they? Are they succinct, clear? Are you asking for a response? Maybe don't. I don't ever, personally, I don't actually ask for a response if I'm sending something along a job posting. I submit my materials. I share my materials with that contact. I let them know I'm interested. I briefly summarize those qualifications. And then I put it in the universe's hands. Does that help, Anna? Any other questions here? If anyone is looking for some help to get their job search together, please come over to Work Wonders Careers. We just added some events, some retreat nights that are coming up this spring so that people can join us for some group support. I also introduced community accessible pricing. So if you are looking for a discount there, you'll find it. You can take the price that works best for you, no questions asked. And these are the sorts of things we're going to walk through. So later this month, when we do the How to Job Search at the end of the World Retreat Night, we're going to be like assessing where you're at, what you need, what's working, what's not working. And I tend to think that there's even though the market is very, very competitive and sometimes it just takes a bit of time for people to get traction, there's almost always things people can do to improve and iterate what they're doing, and also just to manage themselves. This is a very emotional process in the best of times, and we are not in the best of times. So things are really tough. They're hard right now. And believe it or not, like I still see people getting pinged. I still see people getting offers. So it is happening. It's just happening at an agonizingly slow pace for people. It's taking a lot longer. Things feel a lot more uncertain. And I hate that for all of us, to be frank. So hopefully this gave you some ideas on things you can switch up, things you can try. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to drop them. But otherwise, come visit workwonderscareers.com. If you're not on our email list, please hop on. You can listen to Careers at the End of the World, our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm pretty sure Apple, Spotify, all the usual places. And join us later this month if you'd like some face-to-face time, some friendly community. We'd love to see you and help you in your job search. Okay. If you think you have anyone in your network who would benefit from seeing this or hearing this, feel free to share. I'll keep an eye on the questions here, but otherwise I'll wrap up. I'm going to go eat lunch before my 1 o'clock client. And it was good. Thank you, Laura, Vanessa, and Anna. Thanks. I can see you all here watching. So thanks for commenting and joining me live. And I'll see the rest of you soon. See you next month. Take care.